Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Cassandra. I'm part of the Walks and Devour team, and I am absolutely thrilled to be starting our 2025 webinar series off with this event all about the Jubilee. Our team and our guests have been talking so much about the Jubilee, and no matter if you are planning a specific pilgrimage to Rome or you're passing through Rome and you want to learn how to make the most of your trip, we will be discussing it all in this call. I am really, really excited to introduce you to our special guest today. But before we do that, just a little bit of housekeeping. Now, I really want to make this call as interactive as possible. So by that, I mean, please drop in the chat where you are joining from today. My colleagues Michele and Hallie will be answering questions and taking comments in the chat. So please feel free to drop in any questions that you have. I'm also really curious to know when you are coming to Rome. Do you already have a trip on the books? From some of the questions that were submitted, it definitely sounds like a lot of people have a trip already planned. So I've just started a poll and it's asking when you are coming. I'm particularly interested to see how many people will be coming over Holy Week. From just some of the questions that were submitted, it did make me think that quite a few people will be going to the Vatican for those special Easter masses. So please do let us know. I think this is a great way to kind of kick it off while we're still waiting for some people to join. All right, we're starting to get some answers. I can't wait to share this once the answers come in. And the chat's going too. All right, I'm seeing, let's see, Texas, Minnesota, Salt Lake City, North Carolina, Canada, Chicago, California. Lots of people are joining, so it's really, really exciting to see that. All right. Now, before I bring on our guest, I do want to introduce Walks and Devour Tours, especially if you haven't heard of us, if you haven't taken a tour with us before. We are a tour company that has a very, very special connection to Rome, and we are very well positioned to try to bring you a little bit closer to Rome, not just its history and its people, but also its culture, its food, and so much of this amazing city. So Walks Tours actually began 15 years ago in Rome. It began with at the time, singular vision to create the very best tour of the Colosseum. Now we've expanded beyond Italy and we're present in more than 24 destinations across Europe and North America. But at the same time, Rome is definitely where our biggest operations are. We are extremely proud of the exclusive experiences and all the tours that we offer there. And on all of our Walks tours, you can expect small groups, expert guides, and special access. What this looks like in Rome is special access tours and experiences at places like the Colosseum, Vatican City, and the catacombs. In fact, one of our most exclusive tours is actually going to the Vatican City with the Keymaster and opening up the Sistine Chapel before it actually opens to the public. So this is a really, really amazing tour. If it's something that interests you, I definitely encourage you to check it out. And another tour that I was just thinking of is our Pristine Sistine tour, which helps you go to the Sistine Chapel and see the Vatican City without the crowds. Now, for the foodies out there, we also offer food tours and cooking classes. So you might be thinking about the Jubilee and everything you want to do while you're there. Well, the Jubilee is a great time not just to connect with the history and the religion of Rome, but also its food. And so we do this in several different ways at Devour. We've got food and history tours, such as our Testaccio tour, which really explains how the history and the food of Rome are intertwined. We've also got gourmet food and wine tours. So if you're interested in learning how to do an aperitivo Roman style, this is definitely the tour for you. And then we've also got cooking classes. We're really lucky to have our own cooking space in the middle of Rome. And so if you're interested in donning an apron, rolling up your sleeves, you can certainly learn how to make authentic Italian dishes like pizza and pasta with our local chefs. I will say, please stay until the end because we will be sharing a special discount on our food tours. Now, I think the poll has ended, and I'll share the results with you about when you are coming. So out of the audience who is attending today, it looks like A lot of people are coming in the spring, so March to April. Then we've got a lot of people coming in the summer. And as somebody pointed out in the chat, yes, I am afraid I left May off of here. So sorry if you're coming in May. We definitely have some people who don't have a trip planned yet. So it's great that you're tuning in and getting the lay of the land and making the most of this celebratory year before it's over. Okay, so it's great to see when you're coming. Thank you for answering the poll. I'm also going to ask another poll. Have you ever taken a tour with Walks or Devour before? Curious to know if anybody has taken one. So go ahead and answer that here. And while we are finishing with that, I will go ahead and bring our experts on. So we are really, really, really lucky to be joined by Roman insiders and travel experts. Our first person joining us today is Katy Clarke. Katy is the founder of Untold Italy. She is really passionate about helping travelers plan their perfect trip to Italy. She's got really amazing resources like her Facebook group, which is a very thriving community around all things travel to Italy. And she has the Untold Italy podcast, which has thousands of listens every week. So Katy, thank you so much for joining us. I'm really thrilled to have you here with us today.
Be here.
Thank you. Is there anything else that you would like to introduce yourself to the audience or say about your travel community that you've created?
Sure, yeah. Our community is now over 150,000 members. And what I really love about it is everyone's in there helping each other plan their trips to Italy. And I know many of you have joined us here today. So thanks for doing that. And look forward to catching up with you in the group soon.
Great. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for joining. Next up, we've got Darius Arya. Darius is an archaeologist, a historian, an author, and a TV host. In fact, you might have seen him on some programs such as National Geographic, Channel 4, PBS, and many others. So Darius has 2 YouTube channels where he's very active. One is the handle listed here, Darius Arya Digs, and the other one is Ancient Rome Live, where he really does miraculously bring ancient Rome to life. So we're really, really excited to have Darius today. Darius, thank you for joining us.
Great to be here. How you doing?
Great. I can see you've got the Colosseum behind you. Is there any special connection that you have to the Colosseum that made you choose it as your background?
Oh yeah, it's like oftentimes my office, so I'm always happy to share places that sometimes seem overwhelming and overcrowded, but actually have plenty of intimate stories that you can still access. So, you know, there's a lot to discover, and even in the places that can be overwhelmed with people, that's kind of what I do, spend my time in the ancient sites. So I'm happy to share today.
Yeah, amazing. Great. Well, thank you so much for being here as well. And then last but not least, we've also got Erica Firpo with us. She is the founder, writer, and podcaster behind Ciao Bella. So Erica is an award-winning writer, and you can find her work in different publications such as Condé Nast, Travel and Leisure, The Washington Post, etc. And she's also contributed to more than 12 different travel guides. So when I say that Erica knows her stuff, she really knows her stuff. And she's got a great blog as well. In fact, one of her most recent articles is all about insider tips for the Jubilee. So we are very, very lucky to have her with us today as well. Thank you, Erica, for joining us.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to pull down the presentation so that our screens can be a little bit larger. And the next part of this webinar is simply getting into the questions that were submitted by the different viewers who are here with us today. We've got over 100 people with us, so it's really, really exciting to have such a live audience. And I will say, we received so many questions. I don't think we'll be able to get into everything today, but we'll do our best to try to answer as many as possible to cover as much ground as possible. So I am going to kick this off. This first one is going to go to Katy. So Katy, some of the questions we got were around just how hectic it's going to be in Rome this year. And one person even asked, is it advisable to travel to Rome in 2025? Should I wait until 2026? What would you say?
Right. Well, I've just got back from Rome and I had an amazing time, and it was pretty busy actually. It was the time just after New Year, and there's a lot of European travelers traveling at that time. And I would say, though, Rome is always crowded, so you can't really avoid crowds in Rome. So, but the difference between this year and last year is last year, all the monuments were, or many of the monuments were covered up and under restoration. And I felt really sorry for people who went last year because they would have missed out on seeing the beautiful fountains at Piazza Navona that's behind me here on the background, all covered up. So this year, everything looks spectacular. I don't know how they managed to do it. There was a rush, but everything's looking absolutely stunningly gorgeous. And all the monuments that were under restoration, including Castello, the castle behind you, are actually looking stunning. And so if you want to see Rome in its absolute best, then 2025 is definitely the year to come.
Okay, wise words. Given that you do endorse 2025 as a good year to visit Rome, is there any month or particular moment during the year that you think is particularly interesting for people to visit?
I think Rome is special all year round, and I don't think there's any particularly bad time to go. One time that's really interesting that I think that people tend to avoid because they often think that it's too hot is August, because the city can be a little bit quieter and less busy because a lot of the locals have left town, and people have kind of heard that it's too hot and difficult to manage. But I actually really like August because you can it's a slightly more relaxed vibe. Another month that I really love is November, because this is when the crowds are starting to ease, and sometimes the holiday decorations are going up. They can go up pretty early, and everything looks pretty magical. And I was there, recently, just a few weeks ago, and they were just starting to pull the decorations down. But I mean, it does look so special when everything's, sparkly for Christmas. It's got a really lovely vibe about it in the city. But again, there's no bad time to visit Rome.
Okay, Erica, would you agree with that? Is there a time of year that you would encourage travelers to visit Rome?
Well, I live there full time, so I think every time is great, just like Katy said. I think this year is going to be a little particular, and I definitely think like February is incredible. March is going to be a lot of fun. I think that we might all want to take a deep breath at April, and because that's going to be the busiest time with Holy Week, and the holiday, the Christian holiday, Catholic holidays. But I think for me, my favorite time for Rome, I would probably say the best time is December. The best time, hands down, because it's cold, it's a little chillier, and all the Christmas ornaments are up, and that's hands down my favorite time. But I really don't think you can go wrong anytime except for that first week in July when it's scorching hot.
Okay, yeah, wise words. Definitely need to hydrate during that time, especially if you're going to a very hot destination. Okay, great. Now, we also had somebody who asked, what is one thing you shouldn't do during the Jubilee year? Darius, do you have any advice for somebody about what they shouldn't do during a Jubilee year?
Oh, goodness. I don't know. You shouldn't eat too much gelato. I mean, there's really, I just what I urge everyone always is, you probably have a lot of things you want to see, and you're probably, you're going to be busy. Somehow take the time not to rush. So what you shouldn't do in this sense is just blast through the things on your list. Take a chance in a piazza to, I always say, unwind and watch the kind of get a sense of the vibe of the city. Try to slow down, because the pace of the reality of people there, they're enjoying life, and I want you to enjoy it. So that's one thing I always urge you not to do, is not to rush around so much. Less is more, and you're going to have I think, a more memorable time in the city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very wise words. And Katy, is there anything you would discourage somebody from doing during this special Jubilee year?
Well, I don't know if this is an Australian term, but we have this term called wing it, which is basically leave everything to chance, right? So I think if you really want to see some of the major monuments and major attractions like the Vatican museums or the Colosseum, then you really need to plan and book in advance. And I would recommend taking a tour of those monuments, because apart from the fact that they're not very well marked, you also need a bit of logistics help getting around, especially when they can be so crowded. So I think planning to hit the really important things to you and have a plan about that. And then, as Darius said, just really relax into the city, take your time, explore, wander, soak it all up, and you'll have an amazing time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Great. Very wise words. And definitely, yeah, don't wing it. As Katy says, don't wing it. Okay. So when it comes to actually looking at some of the activities and some of the special events that are going on during this year, Erica, could you share maybe some of the highlights that are happening throughout the year and maybe what people will not want to miss, especially if they're looking for those more religious type activities?
Well, I think, traditionally a lot of people come for the Holy Doors, which is a really awesome experience. There are this is a pilgrim event. So this is a once in a generation, every 25 years, save all your money and come and do some really great spiritual things. And two of them are the Holy Doors, where you walk through the four Holy Doors, the four doors that are closed all year round for 25 years at the four main basilicas, St. Peter's, Santa Maria Maggiore, San Giovanni in Laterano, and why is the fourth one not coming?
St. Peter's outside the wall?
San Paolo.
Yeah.
And then Fuori dalle Mura. And then the other thing that, and it's funny because I'm just, by the way, I'm looking at it says my last name is Ann Darius. Darius happens to also be my husband. And we've done that in the past. We've done the four Holy Doors, not just as, but, right. And that's a really cool experience just because, it's kind of mind blowing to think that these doors are so symbolic, but they're closed all the time. The other thing is, so these are things that are ongoing through the year. There's another kind of pilgrimage event that you can do, which is called the Seven Churches. There are 7 churches. So the 4 Holy Doors, four major basilicas plus 3 others. And it's about a 12-mile walk around the city that is a spiritual walk that you're supposed to do. And then on top of that, there's a lot of other cool things that are going to be happening. The Pope is hosting, for different communities, there are theme days. Like there's going to be the Jubilee of the Artists. So artists and artisans can come and they're going to have special masses dedicated to them. Entrepreneurs, LGBT. I mean, that's really cool. And then, of course, we've got Easter week. And that is always an event in Rome. That is always a massive event in Rome. And we're not even dialing up to 11. I think we're dialing up to 1100 for Holy Year. So Easter week for us is a series of events that begin on Holy Wednesday all the way through Easter Monday, so Pasquetta. And, so it's going to, this is your opportunity to kind of, peek behind the curtain of Catholic pomp and circumstance. So it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, thank you for some of those insights. And I want to circle back to something you said about how you and Darius have gone through the doors. You've done that experience. But first of all, Darius, we had a question that I think you would be really well positioned to answer, which is, what is the significance of those holy doors? Why are they so special during this celebratory year?
So I go all the way back to 1300 when the first Jubilee Year was declared. I mean, it really is about pilgrimage. It really is about penance. And, through the creation of these doors, and the first one's called Porta Santa because they use a particular kind of marble, which it's a Greek marble, but they ended up calling it Porta Santa because the heavy identification with the first time of its use for the threshold around the door in Old St. Peter's. And it's just something that, it's really about penance. This tradition is something that's, I think, engaging, the pilgrims. And even if you're not a pilgrim, if you're curious, if you're interested in that history, it's something that everyone is invited to participate in. Now, if you're a Catholic, then there are certain other things that you can do, going to mass and going to going to confession and so forth. But I think it offers something, I think, to everybody, because it is a particular year in the Catholic faith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that really just connects us to an incredible amount of history, doesn't it? Well, going back to what you were saying, Erica, about how you and Darius have walked through these doors before, we had several questions that asked about the practicalities of seeing the doors, of experiencing the doors, of walking through them. Could you speak a little bit to what that experience is like? And more specifically, we had questions around how long does it take to walk through the doors? And do you need any sort of reservation, or do you have to pay a fee to go through the doors?
So no fees at all. But so there was, the Pope declared a special Holy Year in 2016, I believe it was 2016 or 2015. And that's when we did the Holy Doors together. And at the time, it's really important to know that tech was a lot different in Italy. And so we had, there were definitely lines because they had little kind of tents set up, they had security, you had to scan everything you went through. And there's a little bit of that now, but what the Vatican has also done, just pulling it up right here on my phone, is they created this app. Oh, you can't see it because of the green screen part. But there's an app called Jubilee, and it's an app specifically for pilgrims, but it's actually really useful even if you're not a pilgrim, in my opinion, because it tells you, you can sign up for the Holy Doors. Technically, you don't need a reservation for the Holy Doors, but when the crowds are at a peak, you want to get a reservation for the Holy Doors. It's all free. You just sign up and then you go at that time. The experience is like Darius, you would say it's like you're walking through a door.
You're walking through a door. So I would say, look, we live in the world now of selfies. So I bet you 80% of the people are going to walk through and take a selfie. But think about what this really means for the person that's coming once in a generation as a pilgrim. It's a very important moment. And to link these churches, it is something that you just can't comprehend unless you do it in the circumstances of, being a believer. So I think, again, it's fun to walk through. I think just to walk through because maybe you'll see that once in your lifetime to be able to do that. But if you are a pilgrim, which is the full intention of this historically, then it is something with so much added value. And it's a beautiful thing, because then they're going to literally wall those up.
Somebody just texted me that they a few days ago they sent me a message. Oh, the Holy Doors are easy. There's no line. It's going to be really simple. And I said, that's January. So
once you get past
there
January 6th,
are going to be lines. There's going to be security, but it's not. But because of the technological advances, it's going to be. I feel. We haven't been in the peak month, but it's going to be. I think it'll be a little bit faster. But I think you're absolutely right. Like there are a lot. The majority of the people that are going there are really going there for religious observance. Yeah. So. That's also important to note.
Yeah, that's very important. Katy, you were saying something?
Oh, well, I was there, just a couple of weeks ago when the doors have first been opened, and there was a big crowd there, and the security line at First St. Peter's was very long. Yep. And for me, I'm not a practicing Catholic, and I could see the emotion that people were going through as they made that passage through the door. They have special crosses that they carry through, and you can really see the emotion. It's something very, very special, as Erica and Darius have said. And even if you're not Catholic, then you can still appreciate that this is a really lovely and amazing moment for these people.
Yeah,
there's going to be a lot of pageantry all throughout the city.
Yeah,
that's part of the church there.
Speaking of events, we have some people asking if Castel Gandolfo is doing anything special. Do you guys happen to know? Is that something we could check on the Jubileum app?
You should be able to see on the Jubileum app. And I know this morning, or not this morning, maybe yesterday morning, they announced that they're doing a special tour. So Castel Gandolfo has become an open museum for everybody, and they have some cool tours from the Vatican already, which are, you can take a train out. I'm sure that has all of this on the site, but they're going to have another tour that a bit more about the popes and the papal history.
Okay, great. That's great to hear. And are there any other special activities outside of Holy Week that we should definitely have on our radar, even if we're not planning on doing a pilgrimage, if we're just hoping to avoid the crowds?
Well, I think I think something I'm really looking forward to this year, I know it might be kind of crazy, is St. Peter's Day. So
Oh yeah, the great St. Peter and Paul, the patron saints of Rome, and the June 29th.
yeah, so we have a
Wonderful.
feast day like San Gelato and San Ambrosio in Milan, but June 29th, right, Darius? And
Yep.
it,
Fun.
you know, we traditionally have fireworks over Castel Sant'Angelo, over your head, Cassandra, which we love. But I think this year it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, everything is just a blowout this year. So those sorts of traditional things are, I think, are going to be scaled up.
Yeah.
Okay, well, great. Thanks for putting that on our radar. I think it's really important to keep those core dates in mind. We'll circle back to the crowds in just a moment. Let's see. We had some questions about visiting St. Peter's. Are there any words of advice that you guys have for visiting St. Peter's during this time, during this Jubilee year?
I will tell you that, I mean, we know some people that go every day for their work, and it is a little bit of a hit or miss. So we've had, even in the past fall, just sometimes tsunami tidal waves of people, and then other times there's nobody there. So I don't, can't really say how exactly it works, but things will crescendo once we get closer to school holidays, and the Europeans start to travel around Easter. Then Easter itself is that kind of big crescendo, and then it'll be the lull after Easter, and then it's going to pick up again as you go into the summer. That's generally how it works.
Just from my experience the other week, I think patience is going to be required. It was very crowded inside, and you know what, they're doing an amazing job of moving people around the basilica, but you know, they've got a lot of chairs set up for the masses as well, so there's probably not as much room to move around. But one thing that was really interesting for me was that there was a procession, or some priests need to get through the crowd, and so the security was making sure that they could make their way through. And so I think, you know, if people are there for a pilgrimage, I'm pretty sure they're fairly patient people anyway. So but I think, you know, if you need to expect that it's going to be busy, and sort of just prepare yourself accordingly.
Great. Well, keeping in mind that there will be a lot of activity in Rome, what are some of each of your insider tips for trying to beat the crowds and trying to, whether it's, you know, getting away from it all, exploring something a little off the beaten path, or trying to see some of these sites at a not so peak moment? Erica, I'd like to start with you. What are some of your tips for beating the crowds this year?
I think first, no matter what, if the sites that you want to see are the Colosseum and the Vatican, if those are really important to you, just accept the fact that there's going to be crowds. Just, there are no tips, there are going to be no tricks. Because they're going to be a people. But I do think that this is such, like, I'm so happy with what's going on in Rome. There's such a great opportunity to see some of the museums that are less visited. We've had piazzas that have been cleaned up, like by Palazzo Massimo alle Terme, which is right by the trains. The train station had this whole overhaul, but that also meant that adjacent piazza and then Piazza della Pubblica had an overhaul. And there's two great museums right there that have antiquities that are just fantastic, and you really want to go there. I think this is an opportunity for anybody who wants to learn about what modern Italy is to go to the National Gallery of Modern and Contemporary Art. That is always an empty space for people. It's my favorite place in the city. And I think this is also going to be a great time to really think about Lazio has a lot of incredible heritage, and there are some really great day trips that you can take to small places, Castel Gandolfo being one of them, but lesser visited places like Caparola, where there's the Palazzo Farnese, this gorgeous heptagonal palace, and nearby is a tiny Colosseum in Sutri, you know, so you can actually kind of, I went through and I was like, when I was a kid, there was this commercial for like perfumes that like, it's not Giorgio, try Primo. They were called Designer Imposters. And they were more affordable. So we kind of have, I don't want to call them designer imposters, but we definitely have equally valuable, lesser visited places that you can say, wait, I want to go to the Colosseum, but I can't. So what if I went to Sutri, you know?
Yeah, that's very, very interesting the way that you have described that.
My designer imposter.
Yeah, the
Bringing you
designer
guys back to the
imposter.
80s.
I love that. I love that. Okay. Darius, what are some of your underrated sites here? What do you recommend people see? I think we did get several questions asking us, you know, what the panelists' underrated sites are. So I'd absolutely love to hear that from your archaeological background.
Okay, here's the big scoop for everybody. We have on a local train, $1.50 will get you to Ostientica. I actually waited there for 9 years. Ostientica not only has this incredible city that nobody goes to, even though it's a top 10 archaeological site that's visited in Italy, it's still going to be empty for you. It's now connected to Portus, which is the artificial harbor, double harbor built by Claudius and then Trajan. And that's always open every day. It's a little trick to get there because they're supposed to start a shuttle service, but they haven't. You might have to get a taxi, but you literally have 2 Pompeiis in your backyard. And then you have an incredible necropolis and you have a ship museum. That's all on one ticket. So it's like you could have a full day and then go have lunch on the sea because you're out there in Fiumicino. So, I mean, I'm a big fan of something like that. Maybe rent a car, maybe have to take a couple of taxis. But, I mean, you'll have all those places to yourselves and you will be thrilled. And they're top archaeological sites in the world, and they're right in Rome's backyard. So that's one that nobody ever goes to, and but you can take advantage. And they just opened up the museum, a brand new museum in Ostientica, which is fabulous. So that's the big tip. And you can just take a little train out there. So it's up there with Pompeii and the level of importance of it.
Wow, that's incredible. And you're telling me that it's just $150 for a ticket?
For the train.
Yeah. But then, like, I think the ticket now maybe was like, to go to all those places, it might be 22 euros. But they're making a shuttle service to connect the places. Otherwise, you can't walk. You have to take a short taxi ride. But I mean, you will be thrilled if you like archaeology, you like ancient Rome. That's the port city of Rome. So it's magnificent.
Wow, that's incredible. How long would you suggest somebody budget for their time? How long should they dedicate to seeing those sites that you just mentioned?
Well, I mean,
that's a trick question.
You could spend at least 4 hours just in Asti itself. They have their own cafe and museum. If you want to go to the other places, there's also a fort, a Renaissance fort designed by Michelangelo. So you can even visit that. So you can make it a full day and go to all these places. They have a ship museum. I mean, it's pretty incredible. I mean, that can be a full day. You can do 2 days if you want. So put that on your radar because it is pretty extraordinary. And now all the sites are open every day.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that tip. I think that's going to interest a lot of people on this call, and especially if they get to that point where they're like, okay, I need to escape from the city for a day and just see some archaeology. I think that's an excellent option. Going back to
I will add too that Augustine was there with his mother, Monica, Saint Monica, who died, and that's where she was, and her remains were taken into Rome. So you've got a lot of Christian aspects as well of Ostientica.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for that tie-in. That's great. So going back to this idea of like underrated places or tips to get away from the crowd, Katy, I know that you've got some of your favorite museums in Rome that are perhaps a bit lesser visited. Do you mind sharing that with some of us today?
Sure. I mean, Darius and Erica gave some great examples, and Ostia Antica is like absolutely unbelievable, and you definitely should go there if you've got even a passing interest in ancient Rome. It's pretty mind-blowing, and I love it. But as far as museums go, if you're really interested in seeing some of the artifacts up close, Palazzo Massimo, which Erica mentioned before, it's actually one of my favorite museums in the world. It is so beautiful. If you want to see these ancient sculptures, mosaics and frescoes up close, this is a place where, again, there's no one there. Like, I don't understand, why are people not going there? This is like absolutely incredible. It's a treasure trove of things that you can see, and a lot of similar things that you will see in the Vatican museums, in fact, but you can see them in a much more enjoyable way at Palazzo Massimo. Something that's a little bit more rustic that, again, people don't go to is the Baths of Diocletian, which are fairly close by to Palazzo Massimo. And they've got these really cool, the ancient masks, and I don't know so much about them, and Darius, will defer to you on that. But like, if you wander around their garden, there's all these giant masks. And, if you have kids with you, I mean, I know my kids just love, kind of posing and doing selfies with that, like that, faces. But you can also give them their ancient history shot there. And the last one that I want to mention is in Trastevere, just over the river, just down from the Vatican, actually, is Villa Farnesina. And if you have interest in Renaissance art, the Raphael frescoes on the ceiling at Villa Farnesina, absolutely stunning. And it's got a beautiful garden, again, that you can wander around and just, take a break from the city and enjoy, listen to the sounds all around you. But, imagine what it would be like when in the height of, these rich, important people that have invested in this incredible art. So you don't need to leave Rome, even though I do agree you probably should if you're getting a bit overwhelmed by crowds. But you don't need to leave Rome if you don't want to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wise words. Is there anything you wanted to add about those places that Katy mentioned, Darius?
Sure. I mean, the lovely thing about Baths of Diocletian is versus the Baths of Caracalla, another huge place which is pretty empty, is Diocletian's huge bath complex, 30 acres. So much of it's embedded within the fabric of the city. So the big cold hall becomes a church that's retrofitted by Michelangelo. So you have a wonderful opportunity to go to Museo delle Terme and see the backside of the bath complex, and a couple of lovely courtyards with hundreds of statuary and so forth. But you also have the opportunity to just wander through the neighborhood and see bits and pieces. One other piece became the planetarium. Another hall became the San Bernardo, a nice church. So you have unique opportunities when you're even exploring that neighborhood, and that's what makes it really a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, thanks for adding that context. I think that's great. And Katy, I know you just said that we didn't have to leave Rome, but I am very curious to know where else the audience will be visiting apart from Rome. So I'm going to start another poll, which you should see here. I know that not every city in Italy is listed here, but just some of the major ones. And I'll share the results of this poll once we get it. It's just to see if anybody's planning to go to the Amalfi Coast, Cinque Terre, any of these other places around, so we can get a feel for which other destinations they're visiting. And while we're waiting for their votes to be cast, I would really love to know, what is your number one day trip destination that you would recommend? So Erica, I'd love to start this one off with you.
Ooh, that's tough for me. I mean, I have a problem because I love every place I go. So, and Darius knows that. Like, every time I go anywhere, I'm like, I love here. I'm moving here now. And he's like, really? What's my number one? I mean, I think it'll depend. Like, if I'm in a food mood, then I do love going to Napoli. Like, I like eating down there. I like everything about going to Napoli. I think if I want something a little bit different, if I want the ancient and a little Renaissance, and I want the impact, I love Tivoli with Villa Adriana and Villa d'Este, which has all the crazy mechanical fountains. I don't know. I like everything. To be honest, probably my favorite right now is Eor, which is 13 kilometers outside the city center. And it's a very odd, for some, they don't expect it in Rome. It's a city that was built in 1944, or a complex of buildings from 1944. So peak fascist architecture, and I love it.
Can you repeat the name?
Eor, EUR. So it was initially built, it was designed and built as a model city for the European Universal Exposition of 1944. So they wanted to like kind of make a new Rome, and then the war kind of put it on hold, so they completed it afterwards. But it was really kind of a model city, and now it's actually a neighborhood just outside of the center part of Rome. And it's got like some of the coolest architecture you'll see. We have a Colosseum. Everything that you'll see when you walk around there is a reference to ancient Rome, except done through rationalist architecture.
Yeah.
Wow. Incredible. All right. Katie, what would be your pick for a day trip from Rome?
Well, I'm with Erica. I think Napoli is a place that is such a contrast to Rome. So if you're thinking that Italy is the same from top to toe, think again. This is in a completely different city with a completely different vibe. It's fantastic for food, and it's also got its own history and culture that you'll want to explore, and it's only an hour or so on the train from Rome, so it's really easy to do a quick nip down to Napoli for the best pizza that you're going to taste in your life, and other delicious sweet treats like the sfogliatelle and rumbaba, and the coffee is amazing. But one other place I wanted to mention, which always flies under the radar, which is actually quite easy to access from Rome, and there are tours that you can take that can take you there, is Umbria. And it's like, it's most beautiful. It's so beautiful and peaceful in Umbria. And I think if you're going for religious reasons to Rome this year, you might want to check out Assisi, which is, the home of Francis of Assisi, the patron saint of Italy, and it's got a lot of significance for Catholics. And it's a beautiful town, and it's on a rocky hilltop overlooking the countryside. And another place in Umbria, which is easy to access by train, is Orvieto. And Orvieto is absolutely gorgeous. It's a beautiful small town, and you can just go there and wander and just soak up the atmosphere. But there's a lot of interesting historical things to see there too, from the Etruscan era, and also the beautiful Duomo. So yeah, Umbria and Napoli for me.
Lovely. Those are two amazing suggestions. I just have to add too that if you do make it to Naples, we also offer Devour food tours there. So if you can only make it for one day and you want to taste the best of the city's food, we've got a tour for that.
I did that, Cassandra. I loved that tour.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thanks for saying that, Erica. That's great. If we have time, we'll circle back. But thanks for adding that. Darius, I want to make sure you also get a chance to let us know what your favorite day trip or day trips would be from Rome.
Okay, here we go. So, kind of coupling with Erica to Tivoli, Tivoli, Hadrian's Villa and so forth, Villa d'Este and Villa Gregoriana. Just hang a right and pop over to Zagarola and then continue on to Palestrina. So Palestrina has an incredible Republican era sanctuary to the goddess Fortuna, who is also incidentally in part of my dissertation, my PhD dissertation. So here's the sanctuary that nobody goes to. And the high point, besides the architecture built on a hillside, this incredible complex, perfectly preserved, revealed during the bombing of World War II, thank you very much, is one of the two greatest mosaics preserved from the ancient world, kid you not, the Nile mosaic. So make a pilgrimage there, and you can basically experience the route of the pilgrims of over 2,000 years ago, 2,200 years ago. Nobody goes there, but I love that place. Eat the local food. And the local pasta is like rat tail pasta. That's another story. And then, oops, did my thing just die? Okay. And then the other place I recommend, again, not many people go unless you're in the beach mood, is Anzio. Anzio has the magnificent villa of Nero, his seaside villa. You can see it on season 2 of Lost Treasures of Rome on Nat Geo if you get Disney Plus, because I did that episode. But you also have the World War II remains from the battle that took place there to reconquer Italy from the Germans. So you've got World War II history, you've got Nero's constructions, and you've got great seafood. So that's a day trip. You can take a local train for about $2 to get to the countryside from Termini train station. Those are two places I guarantee you won't see any tourists, you see locals or local beachgoers.
Wow. Well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. These are fantastic ideas for day trips. I mean, we could just go to Rome and do day trips for the whole trip. This is amazing. That's awesome. Okay, I'll share the results of our poll really quickly. You should see it on the screen now. It looks like the majority of people tuning in today are planning to go to Florence and or Tuscany. And then after that, we've also got many people going to the Amalfi Coast, Cinque Terre, Milan, Naples, Venice, Sicily, and other. Again, apologies. We didn't have space for every single city, and there's so much to do and see in Italy. But we do know that most people coming to Italy go to many different cities. So really exciting to see that so many of you have these other places on your list. Okay, now I know we're, already going through so many different topics, but I want to make sure we carve out some time to talk about food. So Erica, you mentioned food in Naples. So do you mind just sharing maybe some of the highlights that you had there, whether they were on our tour or not? And are there things that you would recommend in Rome as well?
I mean, so I think Katy actually did a great job. She gave the rundown. You want to have pizza. But I'm a big fan of not just a regular pizza, which is exactly, so when I went on your tour, which was really fun, we kind of did a tour of, I would say, like the building blocks of pizza. So we went to this incredible place where we tasted so many different tomatoes and then tried different passato, because passato is the red sauce that they put on it. And I had the best tomato of my life there from Sorrento. And then we had the mozzarella, and that was delicious. And then we sat down and we had our pizza made in the brick oven. It was great. But I like two other kinds of pizza. So I like something called pizza portafoglio, which is you go on the street. Usually it used to be $2, maybe it's a little more. And it's basically pizza made really quickly and folded up so you can put it in your back pocket. Mm-hmm. And then my other favorite, which sometimes I think a lot of people are surprised, is I like pizza fritta, like fried pizza, which is deep fried in oil. It's been used for centuries. It's like, I guess if you're Italian American, it's almost like a calzone because it's closed and it's hot. It burns your tongue and it's so good. And then, the thing that I really like about Napoli is there's a ton of great seafood. A lot of great seafood spots, a lot of great pasta and seafood, because I think always like Napoli pizza, rightfully so, like, thank you. But there's a lot of other places. There's a lot of sweets. I'm going to tell you something that's going to shock the world. I hate baba, but apparently they're really good in Napoli.
They're very good, yeah.
And as far as Rome is concerned, there's just, our kids will say this, Naples is good, but Rome is better. So everything is great in Rome.
Not the pizza.
But okay. Pizza Italia. I like sliced pizza, like kind when you go up to a spot and it's pizza palo. It's like looks like a ciabatta, to say, a long kind of big thing of pizza, and they cut it in front of you. And I always get pizza prezzemolo, so a red sauce with a light sprinkling of parsley, or I get pizza picante, which is like a light sprinkling of spicy stuff. There's a lot to talk about food in Rome, and I could go on. I don't want to monopolize everything.
Well, just really quickly, what's your go-to pizza place in Rome, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh, this is so debatable in our family.
No. Wait, we like the new place. No, our friend opened up a new place, and it's delicious, and it's in?
Oh, it's in San Lorenzo, Maratoneta.
San Lorenzo. Come on, that place is awesome.
It's called Il Maratoneta, and it is probably the best.
Very cheap.
Like his supplì. So supplì for Romans. So when you get a pizza, you get your whole pizza, like your personal pizza. But before you eat your pizzas, you're getting a bunch of fried stuff. And he makes this thing called the supplì, which is a rice ball that's filled with a little bit of red sauce and mozzarella. And his supplís are divine.
Fantastic.
Again, you're just like,
crunchy.
So yeah, Maratoneta. Okay, I'm happy you said that, Darius, because I thought we were going to fight for a second.
No, that's what I'm like. Just go to something new and kind of traditional, but very good. A little twist of.
And just so you know, the man who opened it is a guy named Luciano, who makes the best carbonara in all of Italy. He has another restaurant called Luciano, which is where my go-to for carbonara.
Definitely.
Okay.
I was just there last week.
It sounded like we were about to get into some controversy there. Darius, do you have a different go-to place for pizza in Rome?
Oh no, they're all the classics, but I like what he did. I was really pleased. I don't like it too innovative, but I like that. Good. But listen, seriously, I would in a heartbeat always hop on a train down to Naples. I'll just be very honest with you.
That's what we do for your birthday. We do that for
his birthday. my kid's first pizza in her life, we went down to Naples and said, shove it in there. She was a baby.
Yeah, she was 3 months old.
We've indoctrinated the children, okay? It's okay.
It's
Because Naples is that close.
We take
Naples
this very
is that close.
seriously. We also take gelato seriously, so.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, that's a good topic too. Yeah, definitely gelato. Let's hear some hot takes on gelato. Darius, Katy, do you want to share some of your favorite places to get gelato, or maybe your favorite flavors if you don't want to reveal your favorite spots?
Well, we always go for pistachio, which it's the classic, and you know if it's going to be good gelato, because if it's good pistachio, then I feel like it's going to be good gelato. One place in Rome, which they have a few stores around the city, is Fata Morgana, and they make really delicious artisan gelato. So you can usually find one of their stores. There's one in Trastevere, there's one near Campo di Fiori, and there's one up near the Spanish Steps, I believe. But they make delicious gelato. And in Rome, there's a rule that you can have at least one a day. Like, don't hold back. You're going to do like 20 to 30. You're going to do 20,000 steps easy, and you won't. It's just going to walk off. It's it's free calories in Rome. It's just go for it. It's amazing, and it's a once in a lifetime experience to be sitting in a beautiful piazza or wandering around licking your gelato, and you'll remember that forever.
Very wise words. At least one. Come on, at least one a day.
I can't do that.
Darius,
I'll just say I'm a fruit guy. Okay, I'm in a family with everyone else. They'll tell you about their creams and their Gelato fondente, and they're experts. I'm a fruit guy, so I love it when there's great variety. There are plenty of places just family run. That's when I like the most. And hey, what's in season? What do you have? And I'm always thrilled. And then put a little ginger in, and put some pepperoncino. There are all kinds of ways where you can flare it up. But I'm definitely a fruit guy.
Okay.
So I'm not a fruit person, but I'm really boring. I really just like dark chocolate, Gelato fondente, and I can tell you my favorite places. And I also like fiori di latte, the flavor of the milk flour. I mean, it's so binary. It's horrible. What I will say is that you definitely, because there's so many, like the tinier gelato spots, like Darius was saying, if you ask what's in season, you'll find like when there's orange, which is the shortest season, it's like 4 weeks long. My favorite flavor. Then I cast off chocolate. The blood orange, when it's pomegranate, cherry.
Love it.
Like cherry gelato is not but proper cherry gelato is one of the hardest things to find in Rome. And when you find it, you have to have at least 3 that day. It's a fact, because you're not going to get it again. Green apple is another one, or true green apple, not the fake one. And the reason how you'll know it, especially with like the cherry and the green apple, is they keep the skin in it, so you'll taste little flecks of skin, and they're not 100%. They're usually tart. It's not sugary. So I agree with you, Darius, except when I don't.
I love this information about the seasonality of the gelato, and it makes me wonder: have I just never been to Rome at a time when there has been blood orange gelato or green apple gelato?
I think what happens, I think sometimes, like me, I get really fixated. Like I'm like, do they have Gelato fondente? How does it taste? And I just kind of go in that zone. And I've learned because of Darius, I think, like he always walks in and he goes, so what's new? What's in season? What do you have today?
We actually have some friends too, and you've actually said, can you make this for me? Will you get this? So she can be insistent too.
we got that's what we did with pomegranate. We insisted on pomegranate.
Very good. Yeah.
We like petitioned. But so that's what, like exactly what Darius says. Walk in and say, is there something in season? Is there something, because every kid, if you have kids, like everybody's used to like, I want the stracciatella, I love the pistachio, I love the dark chocolate. Just ask. Say like, what's the new fruit today?
Yeah, no, that's a great tip. That's really excellent. I did have another question about food, because we got many questions about food, and I just want to make sure we mention a couple of them. But people ask, what are 3 iconic dishes that I need to try when I'm in Rome? So Katy, I'd love to start this one off with you. What dishes would you recommend to somebody if they're in Rome, especially if they're visiting for the first time?
Only 3? Well, I think just recently I set my kids a Roman pasta challenge, which was to eat the 4 Roman pastas while we're in Rome. Luckily, we were there for a week because otherwise it could have got messy. And so that is obviously the cacio e pepe, alla griscia, carbonara, and amatriciana. And so there's 4 pastas just that you can try. So you definitely need to maybe pick the pasta that you want to try, and they're all variations on a theme, in fact. So cacio e pepe is the base, and then you can add the guanciale for griscia, which is my favorite, and then carbonara obviously has the egg, no cream, and and we could go on about pasta, but I think a lot of people love going to Rome to try the artichokes, the carciofi, and you can have the fried version or the braised version, and that's usually in, let's say, winter or spring, and delicious. And if you've got a sweet tooth, then I would say the maritozzo, which is a local sweet treat, which is a bun filled with cream, and you just don't look, just shove it, just go for it. It's delicious, and you have it with your espresso, and you're good to go for a few hours.
Yum, amazing. We try maritozzo on one of our food tours as well, and it's always a hit. We have it with espresso, and yeah, it's amazing. Darius, are there any other iconic dishes that you think visitors definitely need to try when they're in Rome?
Well, I'll tell you, great classical dishes you find in the ghetto, because a lot of them originated within the Jewish community, which is the oldest Jewish community uninterrupted from about 200 BC. The community was mostly in Trastevere, and then finally with the popes about 500 years ago moved over to on the side of the Tiber. So where they are today, the community is today with the synagogue and so forth. So yes, you can get the artichokes, and then you can be a snob and say, I'm only going to have them when they're in season. But if you're just visiting and they're not in season, but they're going to have them now, I say go for it. Don't worry about that. I mean, if it's your opportunity to try some of that traditional cuisine, even if it's out of season and they're going to make it available to you, I'd say try it. But I am a fan of oxtail, and that's another traditional meat dish. It is very delicious. And if you are a meat eater, I do recommend that you try it. I think you'll be very pleased.
Okay, great.
I think I'm gonna throw some things in there, because I feel like something that's really underrated. There are 2 things. There's saltimbocca alla romana, which is my favorite dish, which is a really lovely light veal with a little prosciutto, a little sage, cooked in a white wine sauce. That is what everybody should eat. As far as a secondo, there's also, my mom, any day of the week, any time of the year, any month of the year, I can't even believe it, my mom will have tripa, so that's tripe, and she also likes paillata, so she likes anything that is your stomach. The way they make it in Rome, which is a little different from Florence, is they make it in a red sauce and they put pecorino on top. My mom says to tell you this: you don't have to put the pecorino on top. She hates pecorino. My
Classic
mom,
dish, though.
But like the saltimbocca, the tripa, those are really classic dishes. Another dish that I love, that I wish I could bring everyone to my aunt's house, is the abbacchio fritto. So like the suckling baby lamb that's like pan fried. It's so good. And if you're around, if anybody's
really
in Rome, Easter time, anybody's in Rome in April this year,
April, so good.
Put that on your list, because there are 2 ways to have it. So you can have it fried, or you can have something called scodito, which is when it means burn the fingertips, and it's just like little bits of lamb that are piping hot, and you eat with your hands, eat with your fingers, and
on the bone, you're holding the bone from the little ribs or whatever. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Wow, that sounds like a whole experience, and all these dishes sound just amazing. And I love that you guys are sharing both ones that are pretty well known and not so well known, so that our audience here has definitely a wide array to choose from and to seek out when they do visit Rome, and to keep them fueled while they're doing their pilgrimage between the 4 different holy doors. Well, we're almost at time, but I did want to say just thank you so much for all of your expertise here. It's been wonderful chatting with you. And before we say goodbye, I'm going to bring the presentation up again and just share that if anybody on the call today wants to take a food tour with us, we are going to be offering a 10% discount on our food tours. It's for a very limited time to purchase. You can only purchase using this code through the end of the weekend, but you can use it on any of our food tours through the end of the year. I will be sending out an email to everybody who's on this call or anybody who signed up to get the replay. Get the email after this call ends. You'll have the discount code, so don't worry about writing it down. And you'll also have links to Katy's, Darius's, and Erica's internet homes, so you can follow them and connect with them wherever they live online. So guys, again, this has been such a blast. I really wish we had another hour to keep chatting about all things Jubilee and all things Rome. But yeah, any final words, Katy, Darius, or Erica?
I just think everyone have a wonderful time in Italy this year. As we said before, it looks absolutely amazing. The city's looking fantastic. Enjoy and soak it all up, because it's one of the greatest places on earth.
This is the best time to come, and we're really happy that you're coming.
I'm glad that they got the city looking decent. We suffered with everyone else for the past like 8 months. It's like a miracle. Compliments to the mayor. Really did a fantastic job. So we're so pleased that you get to see Rome in all of its glory, and it's clean. So enjoy.
Amazing, amazing. Well, thank you guys again for spending this time with us. And thank you to our special guests for all of their amazing insider insights. This has been such a blast. Thank you again. And we do hope to see you soon in Rome. Bye.
Thank
Ciao.
you.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.